Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the regular meeting of the Texarkana, Texas City Council. Today is Monday, March the 27th, 2023. We'd like to welcome everyone joining us this evening for our council meeting. And at this time, I'll call on our City Secretary, Jennifer Evans, to provide a roll call. Ms. Evans?
Ms. Page?
Here.
Ms. Hart? Here. Mr. Davis?
Here.
Ms. Matlock?
Here.
Ms. White?
Here.
Ms. Williams?
Here.
All right, we do have a full council this evening, and our invocation and pledge will be led by Councilmember Libby White. If everyone would please stand.
Please pray with me. Father, we thank you so much for the country that we live in, Lord, for our freedom. We thank you, Lord, for the opportunity to serve you in this great state of Texas, in this city, and each of the residents in Texarkana, Texas, Father. I pray for your wisdom and direction as we make decisions. And God, I just thank you so much for this place that we live and all of the leaders and for every person who works in this city, who works so hard day in and day out, Father. Thank you for this time together. In your name we pray. Amen.
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 Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you very much. You may be seated. Just a few announcements this evening. Our upcoming City Council meetings. The next meeting will be held on Monday, April the 10th, followed by Monday, April the 24th, and then Monday, May the 8th. And as a reminder, we'll only have one council meeting during the month of May. We'll begin our summer schedule. So April 10th, 24th, and then May the 8th. Also, in reference to Parks and Recreation events, on April the 1st, the P2A USSA baseball tournament will be held at Spring Lake Park. And then on April the 1st, the TSA Spring Soccer League will begin at Wallace Park. Just a few other announcements to make aware of this evening. Earlier this evening at around 5 o'clock, we had the official dedication of the new rail stop at the Amtrak station downtown. This was a project that was spearheaded by the current leadership Texarkana class, and so they have done an excellent job of really sprucing up that area with new signage and new landscaping, and so it will provide a very nice first impression for those who may be coming to our city for the first time by way of rail. And so I want to thank Vashil for heading up that ceremony this evening, and those who were there. Mayor Brown was there and I were there to provide remarks, and so it was a very, very nice event, and want to thank Leadership Texarkana as well as those who provided assistance by way of financial contributions or by way of providing services for this project, and also thank both cities for their involvement with this project. Also, tomorrow morning at 11 a.m., there will be a special groundbreaking and blessing ceremony that will be held for the new Christus St. Michael Emergency Center. And the location will be at 4250 Gibson Lane. That's going to be in the vicinity of Gibson Lane and the roundabout. And so I would encourage everyone in the community to come out. Council, if you're available, please come out, and staff for that event. It will begin at 11 a.m. And so we'll be welcoming this new medical facility to our community. And so a lot of development taking place out in that particular corridor, and that will be once again tomorrow, March the 28th at 11 a.m. Also, some sad news this evening to pass along. We had a recent death in our community. Marilyn Markham passed away on Wednesday, March the 21st. A lot of you know her husband, Fred Markham, who is with the Texas Pioneer Foundation and has done a lot of great work providing monetary contributions and scholarships to our community, especially in the area of education. And so Marilyn Markham, like I said, passed away last Wednesday, and she is a descendant of the Watts family, which was basically the original pioneer family who came to Texarkana, and their property, as I was told, was out in the Moores Lane, Galleria Oaks area, east of Robin Lane is where they settled when they first came here. And so as being a descendant of that pioneer family to our community, I thought it was worth mentioning her passing, and certainly want to keep the Markham family in our upcoming prayers. And once again, Fred serves on many boards and commissions in our community and has done a great job of representing the Pioneer Foundation, providing funds for many different organizations in our community. Also, our Texarkana Trash Off and big event. Texarkana will be participating in the Don't Mess with Texas Trash Off from 8 a.m. until 12 p.m. on Saturday, April the 1st, this coming Saturday. This will be an opportunity for residents to help clean up their area, roadways, and beautify the community. In conjunction with that, Texas A&M University Texarkana will have their annual event called the Big Event on the same day, and students, faculty, staff, and alumni and families lend a helping hand to the community. The city will host numerous project sites around town, and I believe that kickoff is going to be scheduled for, I think it's at 7:30 on Saturday downtown at the downtown post office. Yes, 7:30 a.m. this coming Saturday is when the event will be officially kicked off, and then those who are participating will go to different parts of the city and participate in various projects. And so it's a great event. For more information regarding either event, contact the Planning and Community Development Department at 903-798-3904. And also, a lot of things going on. The annual Health and Wellness Fair 2023 will be hosted by the city on Wednesday, April the 19th at the Texarkana Convention Center. And the time is from 10 a.m. until 2 p.m. Regional and local vendors will be available for free testing, wellness screenings, and blood donations. And there will also be food trucks as well as door prizes. For more information about the health fair, you can contact the Texarkana Bowie County Family Health Center at 903-798-3287. At this time, moving along with our agenda, we're going to have an annual report that will be delivered by LifeNet, our local ambulance provider in Texarkana, and the CEO, Dave Snavely, is going to provide us a report. So, Dave, if you'll please come to the podium, and we look forward to your presentation this evening, sir.
Thank you very much. With me this evening, my name is Dave Snavely. I am the newer CEO as of last fall with LifeNet, although I have a lot of years of history with them prior to that. Also have Darren Higgs with me here. He is the Texas director, all of our operations within Texas. In the back, our chairperson, Buddy Allen, who's the current chair of our 15-member board, we'll discuss a little bit about, and Carrington Bright, who's our new marketing and PR person. I think this is her second week, so easy on the questions for her, and we'll do our best to back her up. With that in mind, thank you, Mr. Mayor and commissioners. Very pleased to be here, and staff. And we have a little presentation here for you that's really a subset of the larger report that Mr. Ord said, Dr. Ord said he'd put in your packets earlier on, and happy to answer any questions about that. So moving on here, LifeNet is a not-for-profit. If you didn't know, 501c3 according to the IRS. As such, there are no shareholders or owners. We cannot lobby government, participate with lobbyists, that sort of thing. There are 15 directors throughout our service areas, which includes Texas, Arkansas, and Oklahoma. It's comprised of healthcare and business leaders, and they serve as not only providing direction for us, but as a sounding board for community, their expectations, and can be approached with anything regarding LifeNet service. And the board, again, comes from all the different service areas that we have. LifeNet is CAS accredited. It stands for Commission on Accreditation of Ambulance Services. There's approximately 15,000 ambulance services in the U.S. About 150 of them are accredited throughout the nation. We're one of the one percenters, as we say, in a good way, if you will, if you're familiar with the Harley-Davidson group, using that in a different way. We've been certified 7 different times, 3-year hitch in a row, and we're finishing off our 20th year, 21st at the end of next year, we will re-seek accreditation. It's an independent survey body. You have to pay them to come in. They audit over 100 different standards. They look at an application covering all aspects of your business, operationally, financially, policy-wise, and then they make you prove it. It's similar to what the hospitals go through with JCHO, except it's voluntary in our case. Some improvements during the year, and this is just some of them. The pictures were pretty nice, but we invested quite heavily in the dispatch center that we have. It serves all of the Texas area and also does some remote service as requested by a couple of contract holders over in Mount Pleasant. Used to be up in Oklahoma, and well, actually a couple places in Oklahoma, also covers our Stillwater operation. So we had to invest quite heavily in the hardware there and expanded it by 2 more positions here in the last year. Additionally, we're participating with Bi-State in the improvements that they have going on down there so that we can become truly a secondary public service answering point. They call them PSAPs, so where our hardware is interoperable and totally connected. And so we've already budgeted that money and have started the process as they build all that out at COG locally and their connections to us. In addition to that, there's other service-related items that we brought on board. One, the middle picture there, is video laryngoscopy. So instead of, as I grew up learning to be a paramedic a bazillion years ago, we had to find our way from the mouth down to the place we wanted to push the tube. Now we actually have a little TV camera on the end of the scope and can actually see, and improves our initial success rate. We have invested a lot in software. This Pulsara app we're showing you a picture of lets us communicate with the hospitals directly, tell them what's going on with ST elevation, myocardial infarctions, with strokes, and a number of other things. So they get information in a timely way. They can share their status and the resources they have throughout the app, and including with other medical providers in the community. And that's just a number, or some of a number of improvements we made over the last year. And please stop me at any time, trying to be respectful of the time frames, and I can talk a northern minute on you, so slow me down and jump anytime you want into any of what I'm presenting. The executive summary, so we responded to about 6,900 requests for service in Texarkana, Texas last year. Our response time compliance was 80.4%. Ideal is 90%, and we're not happy with that number, and we'll get into that a little bit later, what's going on and what we're doing to address it. The most calls for a response zone, we divided up the service area into the fire department response zones because we think you're most familiar with those. Station number 4 over on Summerhill, if you take a look at the boundaries of the fire response area, that's our busiest area. Surprisingly to me, Station 1 downtown here is the slowest out of the group of all their stations. We had 4 a.m. being our slowest time. That makes sense. Most people are sleeping, not all, but most. 1 p.m. is the busiest time for us, and we further do it by hour of day, by day of week. And we try to staff the response available units for you in the community based on when we are the busiest. So when I first got here 25 years ago, we did 24-hour stations, which is kind of static. Now we have 12-hour shifts for all of the trucks serving you, and they start and stop at different times, bunching up together, if you will, during peak times so that we match the demand with the supply the best we can. We also pay for an independent survey team. It's one thing for us to say we're doing a good job. It's something else for somebody to independently survey all of our patients, and we send out thousands of these and hope for a good response back and accumulate those for you. And our average rating during that response analysis is 96.5%. So it's one thing to look at a number of medical quality improvement, quality assurance metrics we take care of. The rest of it, though, and just as important to us, is what the patients say about our care and what we provide. And we've maintained middle 90s for all the years I've been associated with the company. January is our busiest month, probably makes sense to you because of flu, colds, all those types of things that are going on. We participated and supplied resources for 31 different events in the last calendar year. A lot of things going on, as you know, in Texarkana, Texas. We had 206 requests or calls that were a sudden cardiac arrest, the hardest stop type. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. And 11% of them survived. And when we say survived, that means walked out of the hospital neurologically intact, able to resume a reasonable life versus other outcomes that aren't as positive. So it's more specifically on the sudden cardiac arrest, 206 patients identified as such. We only worked 80 of them. Okay, we have patients who are presented to us in a condition which we know are not survivable. This is well documented. It's national. We follow national protocol. It's further modified by our local medical director, Dr. Matt Young, and other healthcare providers who provide input into our medical advisory committee, and we've changed how we respond to those types of calls over the years by whatever the current data is that shows the current thinking and the best type of care that results in the best outcomes. That ended up with then 9 patients who actually survived a discharge, again, completely neurologically intact. The rest of them did not. That 11% rate is average, if you will, and as I'm sure you've heard copious news stories about, early CPR, early defibrillation is the key, and you're doing a lot of things in the community that helps with that. We're continuing to partner with several groups who are helping to provide more automatic external defibrillators. You have a sign on the door down here, and the use of those particular devices is the most critical to making the difference in this particular type of call, and we appreciate the help and the opportunity to work with the community in trying to improve that number. Another slide here talks about those independent survey results. You can say they see that they split it up by several categories: dispatch, ambulance, how our crew were, how our billing office, we call that the second injury. After you're hurt, then we ask you for money to try to pay for it. And then overall, again, pretty good response. And it's just a snippet of all the comments that we get. Again, they're solicited by the independent survey company. We don't edit those in any way, shape, or form. We provide them raw, count them, and report them to you. And we watch them very closely, looking for areas that we can improve. Expectations in the contract and of our service to you. All paramedic response, although we have recently modified that for the use of basic life support ambulances where appropriate, and we have a very specific set of dispatch protocol that is very well vetted. It's approved by medical direction that decides who might get a basic life support ambulance. It rarely doesn't classify the call correctly, and we have the ability via supervisory vehicles and other ambulances to provide ALS when that's necessary. We need to get there to you. We want to within 9 minutes, 90% of the time. That's not an average. It's a fractile calculation, so we count every single one of them up till we get to 90% or whatever that percent is. Averages are easy. This type of response time measurement is used in our industry quite a bit, but not always across emergency services. And it's a really stringent criteria that we struggle hard to make for you, and usually have until the pandemic. And a little bit more about that in a minute. It's a regulated fee for service. Our rates are specified, and there is absolutely zero subsidy that we receive in providing that service. Pandemic challenges, everything's about COVID. Well, it's really not. But those, when that started in the last 2 years, a little more than 2 years, has caused us and pretty much everybody in every industry, but in the healthcare industry, to struggle quite a bit. Several things happened to create a lot of staffing vacancies. One of them is workforce production. The number of people entering the field, the ability of the classes to actually teach those people and get them certified, all of that has slowed completely down. For a while, the colleges here just didn't even hold classes. And the minute you do that, you're putting a lag on the next time you're going to see a new employee, right, any place. And we're trying to do some new and innovative things here to address that. Increased demand, it got busier during COVID. Actually, it slowed down a little first, then it got a lot busier as everybody got back to normal life. As Texarkana has gotten busier, so have we. Inflation, of course, has been another huge challenge on top of everything else. The cost of goods and services and labor has gone through the roof, and Medicare and Medicaid, which approximately are 60% of our payer source, have struggled to keep up with that, in addition to our fees limited. Any questions so far? Again, I'm just flying right along here for you. And the other thing is bed availability. When the medical facilities get full, it's hard for us to get patients in. When it's hard to get patients in, it's hard to get ambulances free and to continue on for that next call. A little more on that in a moment. So for us, critical staffing challenges. And I could not find the same information on the Texas side as we did with Arkansas. A different way they counted, or it's just harder to find the right spot. But just for an example, and everyone in the industry, again, most industries that we talk about besides healthcare, talk the same numbers, talk the same challenges. So the state may say, I've got so many thousand of EMT and paramedics available. They're licensed in the state, only 42% of them were working on the Arkansas side. Some of them are doing other things. They may be certified, but they're working for other industries or not working at all. And then on top of that, because of COVID specifically, a pretty good, I won't call it cottage industry developed, and that's the contract labor force. So if you're in a situation where insurance and other employee benefits aren't as important to you because of your particular situation, it's easy for someone to hire you at a lot more money and then charge everybody else in healthcare. You've probably heard of contract nursing in the hospitals. We have the same experience. And EMS and Texas actually did a really nice job during the pandemic itself about helping to facilitate that and actually paying for some of it. And of course, that stopped quite some time ago. Workforce production continued then. Of all the available seats in EMT courses running today, only about 36% of them are filled. And then if you look at the ones who don't pass the test, and it's not an easy test, we end up with about 28% of new students out of the available classes that are put on out there. And we need to do something to address that again in a minute. So one of the things we did was to supplement a paramedic course at Texarkana College. In the last year, we paid for the instructor, brought him from a place where he's extremely successful. Again, the college has specific operating hours that work best for them and a large number of their students, but it didn't attract very many paramedics, and we didn't end up with a lot of them from that. So what we're doing in response is we're starting our own internal EMT class in a couple of weeks, April 10th. We partnered with an agency that will allow us to totally build it as flexible as we'd like. So the schedule, nights and weekends, are what works for people in the community who've said this is when we're interested in having the class. We have instructor resources within our workforce that are capable of teaching the class. We also have the same partnership agreement with yet another agency to do the paramedic course internally, and we're looking at doing that. It's not supplanting what's already here. It's adding to the available seats and focusing on the time frames we think people will come. In a couple of weeks, we're short 10 EMTs today. Darren already has 15, 13, 15? Over 20 now, applicants. So we think we're doing something right. We'll know more by June if we have the opportunity to present again for you. The first set of classes we'll have completed, and we'll see how well they test. What else can we do to attract other qualified employees? Our board of directors, and again, Buddy Allen is here with any specific questions, just approved a wage package over $1.5 million. And that's significant to us for our size. And our job is to both attract new and existing employees, take care of the ones that we have for retaining them. So this is probably the largest increase and most significant compensation package change that we've made in my history here. So we're doing that. We're teaching classes on our own, and we're also exploring relationship with a temporary staffing agency, as I was just describing. There's another $500,000 out there that we may cut loose in order to bring those people to us to help us while we finish training up new staff. So that's what we're doing in response to the staffing, the critical staffing shortage that we've experienced for the last 2.5 years. And everybody else is seeing the same thing from what we're told. Our total volume, again, it got slow, then it got busier again. There are a larger number of treat and release. In other words, come see me. I don't want to go to the ER. I can't afford to go to the ER. I'll just call an ambulance. When we get there, we do our best for them, advise them correctly, seek medical direction if we need to, and then they don't go. And the model in the United States is unless the ambulance transports a person someplace, they don't pay you at all. So that's just one of the challenges of funding that we go through, and that percent has increased for all those reasons in recent years. There is, it's not in the slide deck, but there is a program that's been around for a number of years that we have small, very small grant to attempt to try. It's called Community Health Paramedicine, where we try to work for people who are repeat callers on a regular basis and try to find them and connect them with the resources they need so they don't use the ambulance that way. Another thing that we're doing to address some of those challenges. Inflation in 21, it was 7% last year. Depends on where you want to mark it at, over 9.1. I'm sure everybody's heard the number. Retail stores, restaurants, other industry, they can raise their prices to compensate, and we all feel that every day. Again, we're rate limited both by contract here and by what Medicare and Medicaid, whose 60% of who pays the bill for an ambulance is willing to pay. And so that's the limitation on that side. The lagging compensation packages, and I just described the major adjustment. We just announced it this evening right before we came, and my phone's been blowing up. So a lot of positive staff reaction, as you would imagine, and hopefully that creates a groundswell for both incoming and retention of current people. We just had a snippet out there. You can see Hobby Lobby a year ago was advertising $18.50 for just someone to walk in the door and stock shelves. So it's a difficult labor market, as some of you in the businesses you're in may know very well. Bed availability, we talked about that earlier on. The hospitals struggle for staffing as their beds fill up. We'll come in with a number of patients all at the same time because they don't schedule with us. So we'll have 3, 4, 5, 6 ambulances there waiting to be released for them to pick up the patient so we can turn around and go to that next call, which means we're staffing that medical facility. Well, that means we're not staffing your streets where we need to be available for the next call. We're working with both hospitals here and all of our other service areas about that very thing. They're trying to get innovative too, because this is something that trickles down to affect the end user, and we're that last line of defense for you. So we work on that extremely hard. It's not all about COVID. It truly isn't. The myocardial infarctions, the heart attacks, trauma-related, the stroke-related, sudden cardiac arrest we already talked about. All of those things have increased, whether you talk about the overall wellness of the community or not. And there's so many different agencies working on trying to improve overall health care. I don't know if they're able to keep up. They're doing really good things, but we notice the severity as well as the volume has increased. Federal government threw us some surprises last year. There was a 10-year-old Budget Reconciliation Act law that was passed. They just kept delaying for 10 years. For some reason last year they quit delaying it, and they took away even more of the Medicare and money that they were promising us during the year. So those are all part of the financial side, and I hailed as a bean counter for a number of years at LifeNet, so that tends to affect some of the things that I focus on from time to time, because at the end of the day you have to pay for it, and we're doing our best to do that for you. That is a quick overview, synopsis of service, staffing, some of our challenges, some of our successes that I wanted to provide you tonight. I'm not sure how long I went. I hope it was within 6 to 11 minutes, as Jennifer said I could have earlier.
About.
Yeah, but we're certainly happy to answer any specific questions you have from this presentation or from the annual report, and very much appreciate your attention and ability and time to be able to come before you and present.
Any questions from the council?
I do have a question.
Yes,
On
ma'am.
the sudden cardiac arrest, are the numbers and the fact that only 9 typically walk away from it, is that typical in all areas, or is that low in
I
our
would
area?
call it average, and part of the challenge with what you're asking, which is a great question, is how do the other places count you compare to? Some of them say, well, I'm going to count everything that actually got the heart back on the scene, and then what happened after that. Some of them, like us, say if that rhythm, cardiac rhythm, was potentially survivable, we're going to count that too, because we knew we had some impact on it. So it's a little bit of apples and oranges, but my experience, some of the other positions that I've held in the last 10 to 15 years, is that's probably average. We would like to see it higher.
Sure.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Good question.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Dave, we want to thank you very much for you
Thank
being
you.
here. Darren, thank y'all.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Anytime.
For
Happy to
being
come
here.
back.
Okay, appreciate your service. At this time, we move along to our open forum comments from the public. If there's anyone in the audience this evening who would like to address the council, you're welcome to do so. You will have up to 5 minutes to speak on any topic, and if you're here this evening to speak on behalf of one of our public hearing items, we'll ask that you please wait till we get to that public hearing item. We'd be more than happy to listen to your comments at that time. Ms. Evans, did you have any sheets filled out this evening? Is there anyone who wants to address the council this evening? Okay, seeing none, we'll move along to our appointments to boards, commissions, and committees. Do we have any appointments to be made this evening by the council?
Yes, Mayor.
Ms. Hart?
I have 2.
Okay.
Both are for building and standards. We have Zachary Pinolato and Charles Tyers. They're reappointments.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Hart. Ms. Williams?
I also have an appointment to the Building and Standards Commission, Matthew Hackworth, and it is a reappointment.
Okay. Are there any others?
Mayor, I have one
Davis?
reappointment to Planning and Zoning Commission for Casey Boyette.
All right, thank you, Mr. Davis. Are there any others? Okay, is there a motion for approval of those who have been nominated or reappointed? Is there a motion?
So moved.
We have a motion by Councilmember Hart. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Williams. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. I want to thank those for their service on these very important boards and commissions that we have throughout the city. This time, move along to items for consideration. We have two items on the consent agenda. Item 1 is to consider approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of the City Council held on March 13th, 2023 at 6 p.m. Item 2 is resolution number 2023-030, approving the budget calendar for fiscal year 2024. And unless a council member would like to pull one or more items for further discussion, I'll entertain a motion to have the consent agenda approved. Is there a motion?
Second.
We have a motion by Councilmember Page and a second by Councilmember Hart. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. We do not have any action items scheduled this evening. Under the category of first briefings, if it's okay with the council, I would like to move item number 7 to the beginning of our first briefing item this evening. Is that okay with the council? Okay, all right. So item number 7 pertains to resolution number 2023-042, approving proposed revisions to the Pro Theater Management Contract made by the Pro Theater Advisory Committee. And Keith Beeson is going to brief us on this item this evening. Good evening, Keith.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Thank you guys for letting me come up and talk about this today. We've recently had a meeting with our Pro Advisory Committee, and we had talked about the contract with Texarkana Symphony Orchestra. This proposed changes to the contract, I'll list some of those off for you here. One change would be a facility fee, which would be in the amount of $7 per ticket, and $3 of that would go to the City for Pro Maintenance Fund, $3 to an operational income for the theater manager, Texarkana Symphony Orchestra, and then $1 as part of the e-Tix ticketing system. Texarkana Symphony Orchestra as manager would also have sole discretion and shall be allowed to set collection fees above $7 facility fee, and that fee will be called administrative fee for TSO and Pro income. The city shall deposit a minimum or a $50,000 payment to the Pro Theater Maintenance Fund, and $28,000 of that would come from our revolving loan fund, which we're already putting towards. So it'll be an additional $22,000 moving forward. The city shall pay its property insurance on the theater, and then Texarkana Symphony Orchestra shall continue to maintain their own liability insurance. All Pro rental income will be divided from the first dollar, 20% to the city and 80% to Texarkana Symphony Orchestra and the Pro. And then finally, maintenance up to the first $4,000 is the responsibility of Texarkana Symphony Orchestra. After that, it is the city's, or the city pays all maintenance. This is except for items deemed as necessary major expenses, upgrades which are agreed upon by the city and Texarkana Symphony Orchestra, which might be needed before the $4,000 is reached. And also, as part of the suggestion of the committee of the Pro Advisory Committee, this would all be retroactive to October 1st, so back to the beginning of our fiscal year. And I'd be happy to answer any questions if you have any.
Any questions for Keith on this item? Okay, and we will have, as well as our other first briefing items, we will have public hearings on these items at our next meeting on April the 10th. All right, Keith, thank you very much.
Mayor, if I could just add,
Dr. Orr?
I'd like to thank Dean Berry, who's in the audience tonight. Dean is the chair of our Pro Theater Advisory Committee. Also Andrew Clark, who's the executive director for the Symphony, and Sonia Hubbard as well, all worked on this proposal.
All right, well, very good. So we have Andrew here, Mr. Berry's here. Thank you all very much for your service. Appreciate it. Okay. All right, we'll now pick back up with item number 1, which is ordinance number 2023-036, rezoning an approximate 1.74 acre tract of land being Lot 3R, Rose Acres, located in the 4600 block of Rose Acres Road. Agriculture to Multiple Family 1, Mike Craven, MCCM Properties, LLC owner. Byron Leonidakis is the agent. Once again, public hearing will be scheduled on April the 10th as well as council vote. Michelle Daniel is going to brief us on these next 6 items this evening. So Michelle, good evening. Glad to have you with us.
Good evening, Mayor, and good evening, Council. And so this is a request to rezone an approximate 1.74 acre tract of land located in the 4600 block of Rose Acres from agriculture to multiple family 1. The proposed new site will be duplex housing for employees. The future land use map has designated this property as industrial. The adjacent zoning is agriculture to the north and south, single family 3 to the east, and outside the city limits to the west. The adjacent land use is vacant land to the north and west, a lumberyard to the south, and an event center to the east. Staff and Planning and Zoning have recommended this for approval, and I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions for Michelle? All right, thank you very much. We'll move along to item 2, ordinance number 2023-037, rezoning an approximate 6.25 acre tract of land being tract 339, Nancy Dykes Headright Survey, A-145, located at 610 South Wake Village Road. Agriculture to Industrial 1, Charles Bergen, Synergy Direct Incorporated owner, and Paul Dickerson, agent. Michelle?
Good evening again. As you said, so this is a request to rezone an approximate 6.25 acre tract of land located at 610 South Wake Village Road from agriculture to industrial 1. The site is currently a tire distribution center. The future land use map has designated this property as industrial. The adjacent zoning is agriculture to the north, south, and west, and industrial 1 to the east. The adjacent land use is a warehouse to the north, BJ Packaging to the west, and vacant land to the south and east. Staff and Planning and Zoning do recommend for approval of this request, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Michelle on this item? Okay. Items 3 and 4 are related. Item 3 pertains to the rezoning. Item 4 pertains to the amending the PD 23-1. So back to item 3. Ordinance number 2023-038, rezoning lots 3, 4, 5, and 6, Block 144, City Triggs Edition, located at 1401 Pine Street. Office to general retail. Estesia Dennis, owner. Michelle?
Again, as you said, this is a request to rezone 1401 Pine Street from office to general retail. This location was previously a daycare. The proposed use is office space for event rentals. The future land use map has designated this property as downtown district. The adjacent zoning is office to the north, south, and east, and general retail to the west. The adjacent land use is businesses to the north, south, and west, and residential to the east. Staff and Planning and Zoning do recommend for approval of this request, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Questions for Michelle on this item? Okay, item number 4 is ordinance number 2023-039, amending PD 23-1, GR for approval on lots 3, 4, 5, and 6, City Triggs Edition, located at 1401 Pine Street. It may be Estiza. Is she here this evening? Estiza. Okay, thank you for correcting me on that. Estiza Dennis, owner. All right, Michelle?
So this is a request for restrictions located at 1401 Pine Street, which was the previous zoning request. The restrictions for 1401 Pine Street are that the current building will remain in its current condition without any additions or changes to the brick facade. There will be 15 parking spaces. The operating hours will be Monday through Saturday from 8 a.m. to 11 p.m. One 6-foot by 8-foot monument style sign is allowed, and no electronic messaging will be allowed. One screened dumpster site, and all uses allowed in general retail are prohibited except for office space and an event center. Staff and Planning and Zoning do recommend for approval, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Questions on this item? Okay, item number 5 is ordinance number 2023-040, rezoning an approximate 22.35 acre tract of land being tract 14 and 17, RG Cannon Headright Survey, A-733, and 48A MEP and P Headright Survey A-421 located at 4001 Summerhill Road. Single Family 1 to General Retail. Doug Brubaker, Superintendent, Texarkana ISD owner, Russell Sparks, agent. Michelle?
So, as you said, this is a request to rezone 4001 Summerhill Road from Single Family 1 to General Retail. This site is currently Texas High School. The applicant is requesting a sign at this location, and zoning limits the size of the sign. The future land use map has designated this property as office institutional. The adjacent zoning is general retail to the north, agriculture and Single Family 1 to the west, general retail and Single Family 1 to the east, and general retail to the south. The adjacent land use is a sports fields and residential to the west, a bank to the north, residential and businesses to the east, and a performance center to the south. Staff and Planning and Zoning do recommend for approval, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Michelle on this item? So that's where Texas High is. So I understand that a school doesn't have to have a particular rezoning for, and that's the reason why it's where it is now and what we're wanting to do. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Marquee.
Yes, I do have a question. What is the signage they're trying to get from one? Because that's the only reason why we're rezoning it, correct? It's just for a
Correct.
larger signage.
They wanted to put a larger signage. I'm not sure if it's in this packet or not, but I do believe it will have electronic messaging on it. And so I want to say the sign was 8 foot tall, if I remember.
Yeah, it's the difference of 24 square foot versus 32 square foot, so it's that additional amount.
All right. Any other questions on this item? All right. Item number 6 is ordinance number 2023-041, amending PD-05-7 for site plan approval on Lot 1, Pavilion Park, on a portion of a 7.76 acre tract of land located on the northeast corner of Gibson Lane and Pavilion Parkway. Kyle Rutherford, representing Christus St. Michael, owner, and Kayla Wood, MTG Engineering and Surveyors, agent. Michelle?
So as you said, this is a request for site plan approval on an approximate 7.76 acre tract of land located at 4250 Gibson Lane, which is the northeast corner of Pavilion Parkway and Gibson Lane. The current zoning is planned development general retail. The property is currently vacant property. The proposed use is a standalone emergency room. The adjacent zoning is planned development general retail to the north, east, and west, and agriculture to the south. The adjacent land use is vacant property. The future land use map designates this property as neighborhood retail. The site plan consists of the construction of a 12,000 square foot brick building. The access driveway will be off Pavilion Parkway, and the emergency access will be off Gibson Lane. A monument-style sign, no electronic messaging will be allowed, and there will be a screened dumpster site. Staff and Planning and Zoning do recommend for approval of this, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Questions on this item? Okay. All right, and we've already done item number 7, so that concludes our first briefings portion of the agenda. Thank you, Michelle. We'll now move along to public hearings. We do have two public hearings scheduled this evening. Item 1 is resolution number 2023-032, authorizing the city manager to execute a contract with Stanley Consultants for qualified environmental professional services for the 2022 EPA Brownfields Revolving Loan Grant Fund. No additional information from staff on this one, David? Okay. All right, so at this time, I'll declare the public hearing open relating to this resolution. If there's anyone who would like to address the council, if you'll please come forward and state your name for the record. Not seeing anyone coming forward at this time, I'll declare the public hearing closed. Is there a motion for approval?
So moved.
We have a motion by Councilmember Davis. Okay, second by Councilmember White. This is a resolution, so there's not a caption. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The resolution passes unanimously. Moving along to item number 2, resolution number 2023-043, beginning the process of considering the voluntary annexation of 2 tracts, 7.9 acres and 11.05 acres respectively, in the George Brindley Headright Survey A-18 adjacent to Cooper Lane, by authorizing a development agreement with the owner, ATFAB LLC, for extension of city regulatory authority and guarantee of extraterritorial status during the agreement term. And we have Dusty Hensley, who is going to provide some additional information relating to this item before I open the public hearing. Dusty, good evening.
Good afternoon, Mayor and City Council. At the last council meeting, y'all approved a resolution concerning these development agreements for future voluntary annexation requests. Clint Yates is the main managing partner of these two tracts of land on Cooper Lane, and he has requested voluntary annexation. Tract 1, as you see on the exhibit right here, is a multi-family development, and Tract 2 will be a single-family development. The proposed agreement will be for 3 years, so the annexation will not take place until the end of the 3-year term. But during this term, we will require him to meet all city codes and building codes during the development. So staff does recommend approval of this agreement. With that, I'll answer any questions you may have.
Questions for Dusty? Excuse me, any questions for Dusty? No. Okay, all right, appreciate it. All right, so at this time, I'll declare the public hearing open on resolution number 2023-043. If there's anyone in the audience who would like to address the council this evening, if you'll please come forward and state your name for the record. Not seeing anyone coming forward at this time, I'll declare the public hearing closed. Is there a motion for approval of the resolution?
Second.
We have a motion by Councilmember Matlock and a second by Councilmember Page. Once again, a resolution. There's not a caption. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Resolution passes. Moving along to our city manager's report, Dr. Orr.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Just a few updates to pass along to you tonight. First off, the Governor's Music Office workshop was held last week, and Keith Beeson held that workshop to become a Texas Certified Music-Friendly Community, and so that's the first step in the process. Also, as part of that process, there will be council action to request to create an advisory board at a future meeting, so I just wanted to let y'all know that process has begun and normally takes several months to complete. There's also some grants and things that are available through the Texas Music Office as well once that process is complete. Want to give you an update on the Airport Master Plan Workshop. So it was held last week at the Texarkana, Arkansas Convention Center. We need the public's input on this plan, and so I want to encourage you to go online to txk.airportstudy.net, and you can see the plan, comment on it, and so we would like to use those comments for future public meetings as well. You mentioned the big event.
How was the turnout for that?
I thought it went pretty well. We had a 2-hour workshop prior to that, so I didn't actually attend the workshop that night. But we had a planning committee workshop prior to that. So.
Okay.
I was there for a little bit, and there were probably about 7 or 8 people in the room while I was there, and it was sort of a come and go. So it was.
The staff has said that most of the comments have been online at this point, so
Okay.
we're encouraging more online comments.
Okay, all right.
And again, this is looking at the economic development and growth of the airport. So it's kind of separate. The terminal is a piece of it, but this is more about the redevelopment of the existing portion of the airport. You mentioned the big event earlier, and Don't Mess with Texas Trash Off. I just wanted to mention on that we do have 4 different locations around town where we'll have dumpsters located for bulk waste and trash. And so electronics, paint, tires, and batteries will not be accepted, but anything else goes. So those locations include the Texarkana Public Library, an area in Rose Hill, 1303 Milam, Newtown at Bell Park, and then the Beverly Community Center as well. So encourage the public to come out. A number of staff members will also be available Saturday morning from 8 to noon to help as well. And then just a final reminder, our library director, Jennifer Strayhorn, is retiring. And so later this week, we'll have a reception on Friday, March 31st at the David Nelson Room at noon in the library.
Certainly want to thank Ms. Strayhorn for her service, serving our citizens through the library. So wish her a happy retirement. Anything else? Okay, very good. We'll now move along to administrative comments. Any comments from the council this evening to the staff? Okay, and Kristen, we'll turn it over to city staff comments at this time.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I just wanted to remind you that with the adoption of the budget calendar, that this is the time that we would establish the Budget Advisory Committee again, if you all choose to do that. The mayor has a list of everyone that served last year, and I do as well if you have any questions about that. So if you will, if you do want to reestablish the committee, if you will, be thinking of who you want to represent your area. I also wanted to make mention that we've had several people that have served a number of years, 2, 3 years, 4 years. And so we also brought up the idea of potentially making this a permanent committee, if you would like to do that as well. We'll bring forward a resolution at a future meeting to formally establish the committee if you choose to do that. And also, if you would like it to be a permanent committee, we can do that at that time as well. So I just wanted to kind of bring that to your attention, give you time to think about it. If you would just let me or Miss Evans know who your selection is if you choose to do that. So.
Okay. All right, thank you, Kristen. And just as a reminder for those citizens that served last year, Ward 1 was represented by Derek McGarry, Ward 2 by Carolyn Nance, Ward 3 was Larry White, Ward 4 was Pam Hamilton, Ward 5, Kelly Mitchell, Ward 6, Steve Mayo, and my representative was Van Alexander, who also serves as chairman. So those are the ones we had last year. Ms. Hart?
I have a new one. Miss Nance stepped back. She will not be able to do it this time.
Okay, so have you already have one selected?
Flowers.
Okay, okay, all right. Okay, all right, so kind of keep that list in your mind, and if you want to, keep the same person or someone's not able to serve or needs to be, let go by not having the time to serve or feel they feel like they fulfilled their mission, we certainly appreciate that. But keep that in mind, and we'll revisit this item at a future time.
Okay.
All right.
And Mayor?
Yes.
In regards to discussion, I do think that it would be wise to look at this being a permanent position, just for, I guess, some congruity moving forward.
Right. Well, and, we do that in various capacities with other committees like that, so I think that would also be appropriate for consideration as well. Okay. Dr. Orr?
Just one more update. We had the fire engine dedication earlier today, so Chris Black's going to give you just a quick update on that.
Good evening, Mayor,
Good
Council.
evening.
Good
How are
evening.
y'all? It's another great day for our city and our firefighters and our citizens as we welcome a new member to our department today. If you look on the screen, that's our latest addition. We're very proud of that, very proud the city's provided us with great equipment. Great firefighters is a winning combination for our city, and we're so proud of the support we get from y'all and our city staff here. This truck has all the latest technology and the safety that we need to get to where we need to go and provide the service we need to provide. One of the biggest things along with the truck is we've moved to a lot of electronic battery-operated equipment now, like a lot of people going. We're not quite ready for a battery-operated electric truck, but we have found the electric tools we use cuts down gas and fuel. We don't have to use that, worry about spilling that, don't worry about more exhaust when we're doing other stuff. So just a great addition. Our firefighters are super proud. Captain Mike Benson, who kind of initiated getting this going today, doing our truck push-in and our dedication, he's super proud of it, and all his guys and all the guys at the station are really proud of the equipment that we're getting, and just want to thank y'all and let y'all see what we got now.
Very good. Is this new unit equipped with a federal siren?
It might have one on there.
Excellent. Okay.
But
Proceed.
Just ask Michelle. He might can tell you about it.
Okay. Yeah.
He might have accidentally turned it on this afternoon.
Well, as I mentioned before, I office at the Credit Union on Summerhill Road, which is adjacent to Station 9 now, I believe, and they use it very often, and I enjoy that. So
Well, you're welcome to come by any time and give it a push.
Okay, good. I'll do that. So anyway, well, that's great to have this new unit in our fleet. It's always important to keep our fleet modernized, and it's also a great. Provides great publicity for our public and our citizens, knowing that we do have good equipment to meet their needs in the event of emergency. So,
Yes, sir.
all right. Well, thank you very much.
Thank y'all.
All right. Dr. Orr, anything else? Okay. All right. Very good. Unless anyone has something else to add to our meeting this evening, I will entertain a motion for adjournment. Okay, we have a motion by Councilmember White, a second by Councilmember Hart. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. All right, we are adjourned. Thank you all very much for your participation this evening, and we'll see you at our next meeting. Have a good evening.